Third Coast Boxing. Alright, this is the fight weekend recap. I'm going to go over at least a few major fights, not all of them, because we know there's always a bunch of no names happening, as well as undercards. But this is, I'm going to focus on the three fights that happen on the same event. It's the both Charlo twins and Erislandy Lara, the Cuban defector, now 154 pound title holder, as well as, well, I was going to say former gym mates, stablemates, but only one of them that they trained together at the Plex with Ronnie Shields in Houston, Texas. Now, this is the first time they make history as the first time two brothers in the same division hold belts at the same time. And that is, of course, Jermell Charlo. And they both kind of had, a step up, I would say. One was versus Austin Trout, and the other one versus John Jackson, even though that's not really a step up, but he is a skilled boxer. And Erislandy Lara had the rematch with Martirosyan. And looking back at them, we'll start with Vanez and Lara. Vanez, Martirosyan, and Lara had a draw before, and I think that was 2014, a couple years ago, like 2 years ago. Very boring fight. Not much to speak of. Vanez is a almost like a simple boxer that will, come forward, but not really put on too much pressure. He will come forward but he won't actually pressure with his punches. He just kind of plots forward with his body being, the only thing that's, putting pressure on you. But if, a guy's coming forward and not really letting his hands go, then it's not really of use, It just, I don't know. I guess it's there to, I have no idea why. But they had their rematch, and again, it was, a lackluster fight, at least in my opinion. It did not, Lara said he was going to KO Vanez. That didn't happen. I mean, I think we knew that. Vanez, of course, he said he was going to pressure all night and bring it to him and break him down. That didn't happen either. He did pressure a little bit, but not necessarily the whole fight, and not consistent enough to actually wear down Lara. So in this fight, it was kind of like a repeat of the first. Vanez is a guy you really don't look good against. Lara, same thing as well. Erislandy has the slick southpaw style movement, lateral movement, and more of 1-2 pop shots. Every once in a while, he'll put together like 2-3 punch combination and then slide out of the way. And that's pretty much the way he fights every fight. It's not to be expected anything different. But it was a really close fight. I see people saying that Vanez won. Hey, I don't see anything wrong with that. And of course, Erislandy got the nod. And I don't see anything wrong with that either. It was that close of a fight. It could have been another draw, but I'm sure they didn't want to, do that. People don't like giving draws out, much less, a draw in a round, So that was just kind of, it's just a lackluster performance on both of their parts. But I guess both of their, strengths equaled out the other guys, offense or plan. And that's what you get. Just a boxing match, and nothing wrong with that. But did we really need to see it? Absolutely not. So on to the Charlo twins, Jermell and Jermall. I have a hard time, telling them apart. I can't, So please bear with me if I'm getting the wrong name and if I'm saying, this guy's this when he's supposed to be the brother. But Jermall, he retained his junior middleweight title, and that was against Austin Trout. Now, Austin Trout was highly seen as a elite fighter. I don't think he's elite, or he ever was. I think the win over Cotto hyped him up more than it should, and I'm not trying to downplay winning over Cotto, but boxers sometimes have nights where, they show up and they're just a shell of themselves. It's just an off night, as they say. And I think everyone has them in their career. Even looking back at people that are known as, greats like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather and shit, Vladimir Klitschko as of recently, they all have off nights. They've all had really close fights where people thought they lost or they have lost or got knocked out. Now, Austin Trout, he hasn't looked good in a while. I'm just going to be honest. He hasn't looked good in a while. He fought against Canelo. He had a very close fight with Canelo, but everyone has a close fight with Canelo or beats them to get robbed on the scorecard. Now, the Trout fight was one of these examples. I had Trout getting a draw with Canelo, and Erislandy Lara fought him too and lost, but I actually think that Lara won that fight by 1 round. Yes, it was a close fight, but if you ask me, Lara won that fight by 1 round, so it was close. Yes, he gave up the end of the fight, the last couple rounds running, or the last like 4 rounds or so, but even that was enough to beat Canelo because of the work that he did early in the fight. And not only was it, he winning, he was clearly winning and getting off some clean combinations on the redhead and making that Ginger miss bad. I'm talking real bad, like if he was still in the amateurs. So, as far as Austin Trout, that could have been a win, but I don't think getting a win over Canelo is really anything special, because yes, it looks good on your record, and it probably will boost someone up in the rankings, but to be honest, Canelo himself is already overhyped and overranked, and that's why I say that. So Austin Trout went on to get whooped by Erislandy Lara and dropped, and that went in the full 12 rounds, because of course Lara's not a knockout artist, and so Trout looked like shit. And then he had another bounce back gimme fight against journeyman club type fighter, ESPN type fighter Daniel Dawson. And no, don't be confused, it's not Chad Dawson, the once 175-pound title holder. It was Daniel Dawson, I believe the Australian. He's like an ESPN type fighter. Well, Dawson ended up dropping Trout twice. Man, he made Austin look like shit. And he fought someone else, and I cannot remember who it was, and I'm not looking at box record or anything. I don't know who he fought, but I'm pretty sure he fought someone else, and he looked like shit too. So he comes back, and then he looked good in spots against Jermall, but Jermall isn't. He's known as the guy with more power, but he's also known as the guy who hadn't fought anybody. And when I'm talking he hadn't fought anybody, it's not like people were saying, try to hate on Golovkin and throw salt at him and say, well, he hadn't fought anyone. No, Golovkin's fought top 10 middleweights, and he's fought no names, as opposed to Wilder. Wilder fights like, I don't know, some fucking French cab driver, Duhapas, that's never been seen before that fight. He fights some special education teacher named the drummer boy, Molina, fucking fat-ass John Molina. Those are guys, those are bums, those are unknowns, Charlo, he's got the similar type of unknowns to his resume. And his brother otherwise is known as the weaker puncher, but that's because I believe that's because he's faced the tougher opposition, and he's fought the likes of Gabe Rosado, a K9, when that's K9 actually held the 154-pound title, and he took that from K9. So he's fought in some names. And he also fought Vanas too as well, and beat him. So I just think that Jermall Charlo doesn't really have the power. I think when he finally stepped it up, and even though I don't consider Austin Trout elite, I think he's like a B, like a B minus fighter, and even that was enough to expose his lack of power, or to show that, your power really wasn't there. It was just more of your opponents. You fight unknowns, like the weakest of the unknowns, and you're gonna get those knockouts. So it was back and forth.
Trout kept on landing some straight left hands, like counters, like every once in a while, and you can tell that like it would stop Jermall in his tracks and keep him honest, or at least hold back his attack a little bit for, even if it was just half a round or so. But it was a close fight. It was a clear win for Jermall, I'll say, but a close fight because you know Austin Trout wasn't laying down, and even though it looked like he was gonna go down and got hit with some hellacious shots, I'm talking some clean shots, he didn't ever go down, and I think that just goes to show that Jermall isn't the power puncher, because if guys like Canelo, Erislandy Lara, unknown Australian Daniel Dawson can put him down twice, but Jermall couldn't, the undefeated guy, proof's in the pudding, there you go. And so anyways, it went 12 rounds. It was back and forth. I'll go ahead and say, yeah, it was a clear win for Jermall, but I think his power has been debunked, or the lack of has been exposed. And who would I like to see him fight? Hell, anyone. I'd like to see him fight Willie Nelson, Bonner's Martirosyan. I know his brother fought him, but we can see it as a gauge, like who's the better of the two twins. So I think that'd be an interesting fight. Hell, K9, if you want to use that as a measuring, stick for seeing how well he is compared to his brother, you can do that. Laura isn't gonna fight him. I forgot which one of them, which Charlo twin left Ronnie, and I believe the reason that Charlo left Ronnie is because he saw Laura as a threat and sees him as a threat. I don't think it was really, actually, I don't think they ever disclosed why he left. I think it was more of you know what, this could be my opponent in the future, so I better distance myself from him. I don't want to be sparring with him. I don't want him to know me. I don't want him to see me train. I don't want him to know the ins and outs of my daily, activities in the gym. I don't want him to know what my stamina is like, what I'm looking like. And I think it's a case of exactly that. He thinks that he might fight him in the future, which very well could possibly happen now that he left Ronnie. So they're no longer stablemates. I just can't remember which one of those Charlo twins it is, because again, I'm sorry, but they're fucking twins, and they have names that are almost identical except for one letter. You take away the A or add a E, and boom, there you go. One of these guys should start using some Michael Jackson cream, start getting a little bit lighter so we can tell the difference, really help us out as boxing fans. Alright, so on to his brother. Shit, I don't even know. Fucking Jermell. Shit. I guess Jermell. Jermell is the one that fought John Jackson, the son of the Hawk, former boxer himself. Both known as power punchers. And when I mean both, I mean the father and son, the Jacksons. So John Jackson, I haven't seen him fight except for once before, and that was against Andy Lee, and he was looking really sharp. He's usually a come forward fighter, not like Mexican style, but a little watered down Mexican style, a little Mexican American, and he goes in there and he fights. Pretty much stands in the pocket, lets off his shots because he feels or he knows that he's a power puncher, or usually the stronger hitter of the two. And when he was fighting Irish Andy Lee, he was winning all the rounds. It wasn't a knockdown fight where they were both getting knocked down. It was just Andy, was getting his ass whooped, and John Jackson was looking good and on his way to winning, and then boom, out of nowhere, gets caught with like a left hook or right hook. I think it's a right hook since he's a southpaw, since Andy's a southpaw, and boom, dropped him just out, and that was it. End of the fight. So then Andy Lee went on to fight Kid Chocolate, dropped him, got dropped also, got a draw. So Andy Lee's like, he's legit, but elite, no. Maybe like a B plus fighter, somewhere around there. So John Jackson has been tested once before, and that was in that Lee fight. Again, he was winning until he got knocked out. And when he got knocked out, it was cold. So let's jump forward to this Saturday. when he takes on Jermall Charlo. And this is the Jermall Charlo that I think is the better of the two. Has fought in the better competition and has won. He's looked good doing it too. He's not knocking everyone out, or he doesn't have the high power ratio as his brother. But again, I think it's because he's been fighting the tougher guys. When you get to the top or close to the top, you're not gonna knock guys out like you did at the bottom. Just like Wilder is finding that out now. Just like a lot of guys find that out now. And I don't think it's because people say that he doesn't pack punch. He does, and he proved it. He was actually getting outboxed by Jackson, the I think it's British Virgin Islands boxer, and he was looking good. He flipped the script on him. He's usually the come forward fighter. Puts on a little bit of pressure, but instead he like I said, he flipped the script on him, and he ended up becoming the boxer. And you usually don't box the boxer. But in this case, he had the skill to do that, and that's exactly what he did. And he was, keeping it simple, too, with just movement and, a couple shots here and there. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, but just, accurate, well-timed shots. And it was catching Charlo, clean. And I was like, I'm surprised Charlo didn't go down with some of these shots. But it wasn't, too many of them. It wasn't like it was, clean combinations. Like 5-punch, combos. Every once in a while he did, but only a few of them would land. But you can tell that they shook up Charlo and got his respect, and maybe that's what kept Charlo at bay a little. But he was winning. He was Charlo was losing every single round in my books except for one round, and I forgot which one it was. Headed into the actually no, Charlo was probably only won 2 rounds going into the 8th. On my scorecard, and I had John Jackson up like 6 rounds to 2 going into the 8th round, and looked like if it continued, it was going to be a clear-cut victory for John Jackson, and they wouldn't be able to rob him. Well, unfortunately, that's not what happened, and he got caught. It was a Andy Lee fight reoccurrence all over again, and what happened was going into the 8th round, John was boxing, same plan. He didn't divert from the plan, so it's not like he started brawling or came back to his normal come forward, plotting forward self. No, he maintained the game plan, but he ended up getting caught in exchange by like an overhand right that kind of like turned down and hit his eye at an angle. So it wasn't like a straight on shot, just getting punched straight in the face. It was kind of like from an overhand right that was looped down, and maybe because he looped down, he put some more force on it. Gravity worked in his favor, and I don't know, it looked like it caught him like across the eye and down his face, and immediately you can tell that John Jackson was affected, and John's legs did a little wobble, and he boom like went up to his eye with his glove to like grab it, to like hold it, or to like when you get hit, some people will like cover up their eye like, oh, what the fuck, It was a situation like that, but what it looked like too is also like he was kind of trying to rearrange his mouthpiece, or at least that's what he said in the post-fight interview, and I kind of see it, but it was more of the eye, and he just reacted really bad. As soon as he got hit with that, boom, he went to cover it up and started to turn away, and this is in the middle of the fight, 8th round, and immediately the ref stopped it, and that was the win for Charlo twin. Now, I think it was an early stoppage. I think when he turns around, it looked bad, and yes, you shouldn't let him continue, or you can, and just let Charlo get some shots off until eventually, if he doesn't respond, then you go ahead and call the fight off. That's what I think should have happened. I think he should have gone in there and gave him an 8 count and be like, hey, what the fuck, why'd you turn around? And, I didn't see a headbutt, what's wrong? Talk to him, give him his count, and if he says, I don't know what's going on, I can't see it, then you stop it. If he's there saying, alright, what the fuck, I'm just trying to put my guard, I got rocked, I'm just trying to put my mouthpiece in, but it didn't look like that. But that's what he was saying in the post-fight interview. If he would have at least explained to him, and it could have, been coherent enough to explain and understand the situation, what was going on, I think that's what should have happened. And I'm not saying that he would have gone on to continue winning. He could have just ended up, alright, beating the 8 count and then get knocked out, in that same round. That's what could have very well happened, but we'll never know because the fight was stopped, I think, prematurely, in my opinion. And yes, I understand need to protect the fighters, but me, not only as a fan but as a former amateur boxer, I mean, shit, I take shots, and I used to take shots, and but the thing is, I've never been down, never taken the standing 8 count, never taken a knee, never been dropped, never been knocked out. Knock on wood. So I would like for the ref to give me the benefit of the doubt. And as a fight fan, I would like for the ref to give them the benefit of the doubt because they don't know. I mean, maybe they do know, but they really don't know the hard work that goes into it. Your dreams every day in and out, working to achieve this goal, even if it is at the amateur level. Well, I can just imagine it at the pro level with a world title on the line. And that's what John Jackson was facing. He was trying to get a title, and it just sucks. He shouldn't have reacted that way. I was pulling for him, and I thought he was gonna lose, but I was still rooting for him, and I was surprised to see him winning. And I was glad because he seems like he's such a good guy, humble guy, really respectful. A true ambassador of what the sport should be and what other guys should take note of, especially AB. Guys like that. Should take note and follow. But he was winning, got caught, and ends up turning around. I guess, fuck it. It happened. Nothing we can do about it except for voice our opinion. But I guess it's not a good look. You can't keep on having these bad reactions to punches. And what I mean is Andy Lee fight was winning the fight easy. Got hit with one shot, out. Charlo was winning the fight easy. Got hit with one shot, turned his back, and went to reach for his eye. Fight called off. Even had his legs wobbled. You don't fucking turn around in a fight like that. Start walking away to a corner. So that's why, I kind of understand the stoppage. But again, if I was the ref, I would have jumped in there, separated them. Boom, give him a standing 8 count. And if he can't recover, or I feel that he's really fucked off and out of it, then alright, then I call it. But at least I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I at least gave him a chance, to continue, or to show me that he could continue. And that's a damn shame because, again, he was winning the fight, and so easily it looked like, simple but easy. Boxing fundamentals, boxing 101, jab, and couple flurry, or not flurries, a couple combos, 2-3 punch combos, nothing really extravagant, nothing flashy, but it was just the simple lateral movement, changing up the rhythm and the range, and just keeping him at bay with a jab and countering his shots, especially down to the body. He was looking good. And where does John Jackson go from this? I don't know, but maybe he just doesn't have a chin. Maybe he's just like an Amir Khan of the 160-pound division. Maybe he's 160. Yeah, maybe he's a middleweight version of Amir Khan. He's just a really good boxer, and you can tell if they had the chin, they can go far. And even if he didn't have that power, he didn't need it, because the way he was boxing, he was showing that he didn't need the power. The power never came into effect. Yes, he landed some good shots to keep Charlo honest, but he wasn't trying to knock him out. You can tell he was just boxing. He totally threw Charlo off his game plan, expecting one style fighter, a come forward fighter, and then switching it up on him. Especially when Charlo, he is the one that boxes. He's the one that's on the back foot, moving, giving the lateral movement. He is the one that has to, deal with people coming at him, and that's what he thought. But I think that's what shook him up. I think that was part of what made Jackson look good. The fact that he had flipped the script on him, on Charlo, and made Charlo uncomfortable. He's naturally a counterpuncher, but he made him the aggressor, which he's not used to doing. He got him off his rhythm and just kind of mentally like, all right, well, what do I do now? I've never really had to do this, at least recently when I've been fighting these good guys. Excuse me. So I think that was part of the reason why he looked so bad and John looked so good up until the KO in the 8th round. Now, where does he go from here? I think, as mentioned before, this one, Jermell is the better of the two twins. And he's fought in Gabe. He's fought in Vanez. He's fought in who the fuck else did he? He's fought in John Jackson now. He's looked good. His brother is talking about moving up to 160, so I'd say, if he was moving up to 160, I'd say the Southpaw Ramirez. But he's not. I would love to see him fight Ginger at 154, not 155, if Ginger keeps on ducking GG. Because of course we want to see the Golovkin-Canelo fight first. But if that doesn't happen, then I'd love to see this Charlo, Jermell, go against the Ginger. I would love to see him against Willie Nelson. Hell, I don't know. There's not too many names because he's beaten Gabe Rosado. He can fight Kid Chocolate, but we don't know what's going to happen with Kid Chocolate. But I guess Kid Chocolate at 160, so doesn't matter. Excuse me. They're all, predictable fights, all expected wins. Vanez fight could have been a draw, could have gone the other way. But Vanez, maybe he is that good of a fighter, or maybe he just has Laura's number to where, you might be able to technically get the win, but I'm going to make you look like shit, and it's going to be a close fight to where if it would have happened in LA, I probably would have gotten, or Vanez probably would have gotten the nod. So, that's up to debate who should have got it. I don't see a problem with either guy. I mean, all these fights were pretty close. The Austin Trout fight was close. Erislandy Lara and Vanez was close. That was the first time they fought. It was close. Except the, John Jackson and Jermell Charlo. Again, I don't even know if that's the right one, but if that's the right twin, sweet. If not, then whatever. They're expectable wins. We don't know where they're going to play into this division because, again, 3 of the guys at 154 that hold titles are in the same circle, the same city, 2 of them in the same gym, when all 3 of them used to be in the same gym. So I think there could be a chance if the other Charlo twin doesn't move up to 160, the one that moved out, I think there's a chance he could fight Erislandy Lara. If not, then who are you gonna fight? You can't fight you won't fight your brother. I don't know where they can go. I guess one of them moving up to 160 probably wouldn't be a bad idea. As far as the rest, hey, I'm sure there's someone that would come out of nowhere. If not, maybe they can meet Canelo at 155, hopefully at 154, but hopefully we get the Triple G fight. I don't know. At this point, I hear that Canelo's looking at fighting someone like a David Lemieux. Hell, I even saw a video that he might fight like a Liam Smith, some UK fighter under Eddie Hearn, I believe. I think that's an old story, though, actually, from January. I don't know. This whole middleweight division, at least 154, 155, 160, is looking pretty good. We have BJ Saunders, the Gypsy, Brit. I guess he's a Brit. He's in England somewhere. He holds the title at 160. We have the redhead, of course, that vacated, gave his belt to Golovkin like a good boy. He asked for it. He asked and he received. So they can meet somewhere. I think in a case like this, if it's like we don't know what matches to make because all these twin fighters, they're not going to fight each other and they're not going to fight their stablemate Laura. And when they've kind of fought in each other, if you look at it as like a connection, like a Kevin Bacon connected everyone. Well, if you look at this guy, they fought in this guy, they fought in this guy, and they kind of like do connect. It's that for they need to fight Canelo, but again, that connects to Laura, and maybe that'd be a good match. I'd love to see the Charlo twins versus Lara. Oh, I keep on forgetting about Demetrius Andrade. I think he's a really good fighter. Really, really good fighter. Southpaw. I think fighting out of Rhode Island, East Coast guy. I'd love to see him versus the Charlos. He did beat Banas. He got dropped, I believe, in the first round, but ended up getting up and continuing. So he might have a suspect chin. But yet again, Banas isn't like known as the world's best power puncher, but he isn't a feather puncher either. You know, he has decent pop, and it, you don't see a punch coming from him, and it's a clean, good, powerful shot. You know, he could put you down. So we just got to see some of these guys start mixing it up in like a round robin type tournament, or maybe they can do like a super middleweight tournament like they had in 2010, 2011. You know, the one with Kessler, Abraham, Ward, Durrell. Bit of these 154, 160 fighters. Hell, even just 154. Because at 160, technically, we only have B.J. Saunders, I think Eubank, and Golovkin, of course. David Lemieux did come back with a win over a KO win over Glenn Tapia, but Glenn Tapia is nothing to. Again, he's not a feather in your cap. He got knocked out by James Kirtland, and that's, I think, post Kirtland of the destruction by the Ginger. So we got to see some kind of tournament or title eliminators to make these fights happen, get them in the ring versus each other. So, will that happen? Probably not, but we can try to be optimistic and hope for that. Alright, guys, I think that's pretty much it. I know there's some other cards on the weekend, but again, they're like undercards of these main events or co-main events as well, or some other fights, but I'm just covering the ones that were telecasted, I think, on Showtime. I know everyone doesn't have cable. Get a chance to see them. I saw them. You guys weren't missing much. I'm sure someone posted them here on YouTube. You can find them. Again, the Vanez and Lara fight was kind of similar to the first one. It felt like a draw to me. I don't see a problem with Lara winning, though. Could go the other way. Austin Trout and Charlo, close fight. I believe that Charlo won, and John Jackson versus other twin. Twin was losing, I'd say 6 rounds to 2, so he was down significantly before he rallied, or didn't even rally. He just landed a good overhand right to the eye of John Jackson, which, you know, created one of the more weirder fucking, you know, TKOs, whatever you want to call it. The guy gets hit, kind of reaches for his eye and turns around in the middle of the fight. Just an awkward look. I hope that I hope it's not a chin issue where it's gonna always haunt him. I hope it's more of like a Marquez type chin where Juan Manuel Marquez gets dropped by everyone and his mama, but he always gets up and continues to fight. So I hope it's something like that, to where he, you know, I don't know what happened there. I'm not even going to speculate. He just said he was shocked or got stunned, but then he went to try to put it in his mouthpiece. That's his own words. I don't know. Looking at it again, I don't think that's what happened. It looked like he got hit in the fucking eye. He's like, damn, what the fuck happened? And didn't even know where he was at or what was going on, and retreated for the corner. But damn, sucks because he's a really good boxer. Seems like a humble guy. Maybe we can see him fight the winner of, or not the winner. He can fight the loser, Glenn Tapia, who just got knocked out by David Lemieux. So the 2 losers can fight, and then the winner can fight David Lemieux, and then winner go from there. I don't know. Third Coast Boxing, I'm out.